Okay, so now it's recording. So good afternoon or good morning or good evening, everyone, depending on where you're connecting from. And welcome to this webinar offered by Urban GreenUP, where we will learn more about the methodology for developing and designing and applying renaturing urban plans to your city. We will start with a short introduction from our project coordinator, Raul, from the Cartif Technology Center. We'll then have the presentation from Magdalena, who will tell us more about the Renaturing Urban Plan methodology. And then we will hear from our follower cities of Mantova, Medellín, and Quy Nhon about how they have applied this methodology to their own urban context. So I think we can start. I mean, we don't waste any time, so I will pass the word on to Raul. And I invite the other panelists to switch off the camera so that only Raul's camera is on, and to keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking. So thank you, Raul, and I will now give you the right to share your screen.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Okay, now you should be able to share your screen.
Okay. So I don't know if you can see the presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julio, for your introduction. It's a pleasure for me to have once again the opportunity to welcome all of you to the Urban GreenUP NBS Metro Resolutions webinar series, specifically to the fourth webinar about how to develop a renaturing urban plan in our cities. This is as I mentioned before, this is the fourth webinar, and the idea is to comment and to share one of the most relevant results of the project. I mean, the generation of the new concept, the RUP, the Renaturing Urban Plan, and how cities can develop this plan, and how them can also include as part of their urban plans. As you mentioned, the Renaturing Urban Plan is included into the global methodology of the project. As usual, I would like to. Sorry, this is the idea of the brief introduction of the webinar. The idea is to comment, to deliver an overview of the project. The project belongs to the topic, belongs to the Horizon 2020 program, specifically to the topic about demonstrating innovative nature-based solutions. The project started the 1st of June of 2017, and is foreseen to finish, if everything goes well, in 2023, because we, as you know, we are asking for an extension for the project in order to get the final results specifically about the monitoring. The budget of the project is around 15 million euros, with an European contribution around 14 million euros, and we have involved in the project 9 different countries. I think that this is very relevant for to obtain good applicability of our Renaturing Urban Plan. Well, the project pretends to demonstrate an innovative methodology, as I mentioned before, methodology to renaturing our cities, and we introduced this a very innovative plan, the Renaturing Urban Plan, of course through nature-based solutions or natural-based solutions interventions, and taking into account the new technologies towards the adaptation of the cities to fight against the climate change. And for this, we have needed the identification of city challenges specifically related to climate change. We need to involve the main stakeholders related to climate change, but also with cities and industries and nature-based solutions context. Also, we need to demonstrate in 3 demo sites, cities, the implementation of our nature-based solutions, Valladolid, Liverpool, and Izmir. And also we need to replicate and evaluate at European level our project, and we need an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach. And finally, we need to involve social science and humanities. Yeah, and in this slide, we can see the worldwide dimension of the project with our 3 frontrunner cities as the mosaics: Valladolid in Spain, Liverpool in the UK, and Izmir in Turkey. But also we have 5 follower cities, 2 European follower cities, Ludwigsburg in Germany and Mantova in Italy, and 3 non-European follower cities, Medellín in Colombia, Chengdu in China, and finally Bindi and Quy Nhon in Vietnam. And the replicability of the Renaturing Urban Plan is one of the reasons that we have our follower cities in the project, besides another aspects, of course, but this is very relevant. They are developing a very relevant role, showing how other cities, not the mosaic cities, other cities are able to replicate the book, the Renaturing Urban Plan. Well, this is regarding the NBS implementation. I don't want to take too much time on this. This is the structure, and we have identified 4 different subcategories related to nature-based solutions. I mean that we need to know natural urbanization category, water intervention, singular urban infrastructure, and non-technical intervention. And the project probably will have more than 100 of nature-based solutions implemented into these different 4 categories. Yeah, in this slide we can see the general objective of the project. The idea is to generate a new global MBS market. Of course, developing or generating green jobs. We need to increase, or we want to increase, the awareness about the benefits of nature-based solutions and the transformation of cities through renaturing aspects. Also, we need to enhance, or we want to enhance stakeholders and citizen participation, applying process co-design, co-development, and complementation processes. And also, we have to foster the creation of healthier and greener cities through our project and through our initiatives into the project. And well, that's all from my side. Just thanks also to our speakers, Magdalena Rosanska from Acciona, Amelie Kraft from Ludwigsburg City Council, Elisa Parisi from Mantova City Council, Marcela Noreña from Medellín City Council, and finally our colleague Quan Nguyen from Quy Nhon City Council in Vietnam. And of course, thanks to our colleagues from ICONS, especially for organizing this webinar. It's, as I mentioned before, it's a pleasure for me to have all of you here. So that's all, Julio. The virtual floor is maybe for Magdalena.
Thank you very much, Raul. And now that we see the slides, I just want to inform the people that unfortunately the speaker from Ludwigsburg had a last-minute problem and could not be here. So unfortunately today we will not hear from them, even if that was the original plan. So we apologize for this. And so we'll pass the word on to Magdalena. So we now give you the chance to share your screen. Okay, so now you should.
Good afternoon all, good evening. Just confirm you can see full screen.
Yes, I can see it full screen, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So as thank you, Raul, thank you, Julio. As both presented me, I'm Magdalena Rosanska. I'm project manager of consultancy service of Acciona Engineering, and in Urban GreenUP I'm in charge of RUP methodology development and implementation, and this methodology focus and with main aim on supporting decarbonization of our cities by 2050, using that nature-based solution based methodology, and supporting greening of our cities. Yeah, very sorry, I will try to close the, I don't know even you are also able to see the...
Yeah, we see the cursor.
Yeah, so now is better, I suppose. Okay. As I introduced, this urban green-up methodology, nature-based, solution-based, introduced the new concept on renaturing urban planning and all processes related that planning and product that we introduce that are an innovative solution and also state-of-the-art solution that are currently available on our market. We developed different actions to reach that urban green-up impacts we presented, and somehow we testing on ourselves, because in urban green-up we have crossed fully all that different processes that we are proposing and integrating our methodology. So we have developed city challenges, we involve key partners, we demonstrated all of the actions. As Raul indicated, we have different demonstrators that's are involved, integrated our Urban GreenUp project, and we evaluate all of them. By that moment, we are ending our evaluation, and we are validating our methodology. So at the end, we will be able to present the results and full processes tested and validated. As a base on that GreenUp methodology, we have developed the catalog, nature-based solution. That catalog answers different challenges proposed into the project. Here I would like to just mention that we are following another project on that definition, that is Eclipse Project, and that's defined different challenges, and those environmental one and but also social one, at 3 different levels. Levels that depends on the integration of each of the solutions. That could be water, air, but also soil. And I would like to invite you to our web page where those solutions are presented, and that catalog can be fully downloaded, and you can somehow start to wonder which solutions are the best options for your local situation. This catalog divided into 3 different groups. We call them water intervention, renaturing urbanization, and singular green interventions that are a little bit more specific interventions that can be used for your local urban plans. As well, I once again invited you to see in deep what different solutions can be used, how those solutions can be integrated. This catalog includes all data, technical data, accordingly each that nature-based solution, also economic one, also social one. Also, we are pre-estimating what potential impact could be get through implementation of such solutions. And going to our GreenUp methodology route, we have established and we have defined different processes that are integrated that methodology. Those processes cross main steps on understanding of your present, choosing your future, writing your plan, and integrating and keeping of what you developed. And those, all of them somehow cross different actions that you have to integrate your plan. That is starting engagement and co-creation actions, exploring your current situation and choosing somehow your future targets, diagnosis your scenario, your particular nature-based solution scenario, visualizing that scenario somehow, because you have to decide on a particular nature-based solutions locations, planning, and of course never forget informing and promoting locally those actions. At the end, assessing as well lessons learned from that process, what gives you opportunity to scale up your actions and allowing replication our local nature-based solution plan to another city zones or also to another cities. So before starting, you have to realize about your city-based situation. You have to find your local route planning, because what we're proposing in Urban GreenUP is a main structure, main processes that you should have into account. But of course, those processes should be then adapted to your city particular conditions, like city location, what's here main aspects like climate and your particular urban structure, your city main barriers, not only those technical, economic, environmental, but also social one, because at the very top of that methodology we have very early involvement of all key actors of our methodology. So you have to wonder about that particular factor, that is social one. You have to wonder what are the city challenges, because there are different challenges, but you have to define and decide which one is a key factor, key challenge for your city, and why. Yeah, very sorry here. And you have to define your particular city baseline according that different impacts and that you are going to reach those environmental, but as well economic and social. And having those, you are going to be in position when you can start analyze that nature-based solution catalog to wonder about which specific project, which specific initiatives can be adopted then. And once you cross that base preparation phase, you start engaging and you start co-creating. So at that level, what is the key aspects is identification and involvement of stakeholders, your local authorities, politicians, technical experts, business, academia, citizens, or any other relevant that's on your local level have to be considered. You prepare for co-delivery, so somehow you are defining the plan on co-creation, involvement, development, and implementation. Also looking on that financial phase, how to finance that processes, because you have to consult, involve, collaborate, but also never forget you have to somehow empower those key experts on behind of your local route plans to help you with and to support you in each process. You have to explore your city targets. You have once understood your city particular needs. You define the city targets and you define the particular city scenario on implementation of that nature-based solution. And at that level, you also have to prepare the local municipality space for integration of that plan. So you have to wonder about that specific, maybe legal aspects that you have to take into account that are different to another cities, but very key ones that allow or not, that decide somehow on how successful would be at the end that process. You have to very in deep diagnose that nature-based scenario, and to help you with it's very interesting to somehow visualize how far you want to integrate and you want to implement such solutions. So you have to define all that aspects on city, environmental, social and economic aspects. To help you with, Urban GreenUP develop kind of a smart tool that help you to cross with that processes, help you to cross that, define that particular challenges that you facing, link them somehow that nature-based solution impacts and evaluate how far that impacts can be reached. So also I'm inviting you to know our tool and to analyze that and to help you with your particular route definition. Once done, yeah, you defining that particular scenario, as I said, vis-a-vis city targets established. And this is a moment when it comes to planning, to defining on paper on what exactly would be done and what particular impacts will be gathered. So once defined that city baseline conditions, local conditions, where that intervention will be implemented, within which city, region or neighborhood or maybe street or area, you defining somehow particular KPIs indicators, you select them, you prioritize them. In such a process, this tool I have just mentioned also can help you. And at the end, you're informing and integrating route plan. Never forget to promote your initiative, to publish your route, and to gather all the lessons learned that you will get from implementation process. And some cities of it's very key aspects to write your local route plan and to integrate that plan, generic urban planning you have adopted for your particular city, but also promote that initiatives from early beginning through your citizens, through your key stakeholders. You can do that in a very plenty ways. Here on behind you can see a picture of one of our key demo sites who integrated some examples on nature-based solutions into very key buildings, very well recognized buildings of the city, in such a way somehow wake up the interest for that initiative and for that impact that we can get locally. And at the end, after that short presentation, we are going to show you some examples on that integration and on how cities that follow up us start to write that plans and start integrate and trying to cross that process. And after then, we would like to propose you that Renaturing Urban Planning Assessment, very quick methodology validation, and invite you to cross with us that some key questions according how far you are prepared, how far you are convinced about that methodology, and hopefully will allow you to realize on how far you are prepared at that moment for crossing of that process. So very quick and very short presentation, full version according that methodology development you also can find on our webpage. And with that, I would like to finish that brief presentation. And Julio.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. Thank you for your presentation. And I would like to remind the participants that we will have time at the end of our presentation for Q&A. So if you have questions for Magdalena about her presentation, you will have the chance to ask them towards the end of the webinar. And now we go to our next speakers. So now we start having a look at what our follower cities have done and how the Renaturing Urban Plan methodology, which Magdalena has just explained us, has been adopted in their cities. Our first speaker is Elisa. She's already ready. That's great. So I will now give you the right to share your screen, and then you can start. Elisa is representing the city of Mantova, which is one of the 2 European follower cities in Urban GreenUp. Okay, so you should be able to share your screen now, Elisa.
Just a moment. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it. I can see the PPT.
Okay, thank you.
Now I see it in full screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Giulio. This is Elisa Talisi from Municipality of Mantova, and I represent one of the follower cities of Urban GreenUp project. In this short presentation, I will explain you how we arrived to draft the Renaturalization Urban Plan of Mantova. We started since 2016-17 with a deep analysis of environmental and climate change aspects of the territory. And in 2018, we adopted a climate change adaptation guidelines. This is important to say because here we recognized some of climate change resilience challenges for Mantova that you can see in this slide. These challenges are green areas, urban heat islands, linked to the UNESCO heritage site of Mantova city center, the water management system and land use, mitigation periods of drought in this Pianura Padana basin, biodiversity and with insects, and presence of different contaminated sites in the area. We started with the localization of the priority areas of the city that you can see in step 1. And then for each areas, we selected some NBSs from NBS catalog of Urban GreenUP project. The third step was the definition of the Renaturalization Urban Plan. Here there is an index of the document, and then you can see the plan of the RUP. In this slide, you can see also some points where we identify this MBS, the city center and all the territory of Mantova. And it's important to say that many of these actions that we selected with RUP and with Urban GreenUp project were financed and are now financed by some other European projects and national or regional projects that you can see in this slide mentioned. The main focus that we are on which we are working is the adaptation theme with actions of urban and peri-urban forestation, action about depavement and introduction of NBS in city center. We are promoting biodiversity mobility and urban regeneration in all the urban regeneration projects of the center, there are actions on reforestation and on NBS aspects. Also the hydraulic management system, because Mantova is inside three lakes surrounding area, is involved in this project. In the next slides, you can see some of the reforestation projects that we are made inside the city. And this is a requalification project in one of the main square of Mantova, where you can see trees inside the square. And there are 2 or 3 parking areas, new parking areas with NBS. And the last one that I want to show you is Palazzo Tess Gardens, that is a requalification green project in the city center of Mantova, and it was financed by Italian Cultural Ministry, and this project will end at the end of next year. Some suggestions for the cities that want to approach to renaturalization urban plan is, first of all, to act in synergy with the other departments of the institution, such as Maddalena told before, and also acting and co-create with all the stakeholders of the area for increase awareness on this theme. Thank you very much from Mantova.
Thank you very much, Elisa, for your presentation. So now we are going to the next speaker, who is Marcela from the city of Medellín in Colombia. Marcela, can you hear us?
Hello. Yes.
Hi, Marcela.
Hello, everyone.
So I will share your slides as we agreed on, so you can then present them. So just a second, I will start sharing my screen and your slides.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcela Noreña on behalf of the city of Medellín. All this work is being carried out by the environmental secretary of the mayor of Medellín. Today, I will present the progress of the renaturalization plan for Medellín. Next, please. What's been done to carry out of the roof? Next, please. To carry out the roof, it was proposed to develop in 3 phases. In phase 1, the general structure was generated, establishing step by step a methodological framework to ensure the implementation of NBS in Medellín as a final result. Phase 2, where a renaturalization strategy was generated, a base information which will become the starting point to consolidate phase 3. In the phase 3, the 5 components that are part of the renaturalization plan are being developed. Next, please. In these slides and the next show the phase 3 and how Medellín roof is developed, made up of 5 components, according to the steps established by the Urban GreenUP project explained by Maddalena previously. An infographic is made to show in parallel how Medellín is evidencing the fulfillment of each point of each component, which were the activities and associated items that need to be developed to obtain the desired result. Next, please. The other, please. In this point is the final result. This is the progress of the formulation of the RUP. Next, please. The plan for Medellín has 5 components. The first component is part of the co-participation strategy. We have 4 groups of actors: academia, citizens, the public and private sectors. A second component corresponding to an institutional management model, where 58 actors who are related to green were identified how we should classify their importance according to their function, roles, and competences with the mayor's office. And the third component that is part of the financial strategy, generating operational channels to generate, preserve, maintain the urban and rural green areas of Medellín. A fourth component that refers to a model of territorial prioritization to materialize the NBS, and the last one corresponds to the monitoring and follow-up system for NBS. Next, please. In this point, how are going to start implement the renaturalization plan through the so-called early intervention in the urban green that Medellín is already developing. Next, please. Why implement NBAs to nature? From the territorial prioritization model associated with the component 4 of the renaturalization plan, it is defined to validate the territorial offer that Medellín has through its infrastructure, green, blue, and gray, specializing the 9 city challenges, defining its most critical areas to intervene through NBAs in the current city project of the development plan. Next, please. In the multi-scale planning processes established by the Urban Forestry Manual, guidelines are established to address the macro, macro, and micro scales. At the micro scales, it is defined to develop and implement nature-based solutions. Medellín's renaturalization plan incorporates these guidelines specifically in the design of public space through NBAs, improving its landscapes and ecological condition, and highlight in the enhancing the associated co-benefits. Next, please. According to the NBA's catalog delivered through the Urban GreenUP project, Medellín groups according to the type of green, blue, and green infrastructure the 47 types of NBAs in the 12 categories. The category that corresponds to carbon capture or tree planting is unified, where is the slight zone of the NBAs that are already being implemented in different projects are highlighted, such as orchards, green walls, green facade, planting trees, green corridors, pollinator, cyclo routes, permeable pavement. Next, please. In the case studies correspond to the identification of early intervention where different typologies of NBS solution and being implemented in the communes with more critical results in the retreat areas of the stream. Here you see 5 typologies that are portable, green gardens, berm and space for nearby pollinators, arboreal intervention, rest areas such as low impact parks and butterfly gardens. Next, please. The recovery of retreat areas from early intervention by the Secretary Environmental This is a stream, Juan Bob streams. 5 typologies of nature-based solution are implemented, such as urban garden, targets, containments, pollinated anti-gardens, drainage, and staggered garden and pollinators. Next, please. In the last image, the different spaces that are improved in the intervention of different types of solutions we are visualized. There are residual space and garbage dump in areas of withdrawal of the creek. Next, please. Next, please. This is a check is a carry out of must be taken into account in the project that are part of the development plans and how it's articulated with the renaturalization plan. In the conception phase, in the design and co-creation phase, and the implementation and monitoring phase. This is a first approximation of how we should be to incorporate NBS in the city projects according to the current Medellín Futuro development plan. Next. This is the last one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marcela. So now I think we can go to the third speaker, who is Quang from the city of Quy Nhon in Vietnam. So I will now give you the right to share your screen. Just 1 second.
Yeah, can we show the slides?
Okay. In principle, now you can share your screen. You should see the button. Yes, exactly. I see your screen now.
That's okay.
Yes, I don't see the presentation, but I see your screen.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Today I'm very happy to present.
Yeah, now show the anh Trường bật cái yeah, okay, good.
Now we see your presentation. You can start. Now we see the presentation.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm very happy to show some my presentation on the RUP establishment in the Quy Nhon city, and we have 3 main cores of the presentation. The first one is the process of RUP establishment, and the second one is some information about Quy Nhon city RUP, and the last one is a necessity of the RUP in Quy Nhon city. And yeah, and here is the process of RUP establishment in the Quy Nhon city. As you see, based on the methodology from the work package 1, the Quy Nhon city identify 4 steps to make the RUP. The step 1 is the characterize the city as regard to the NBS implementation. In this step, we review on the characteristics in the social, economic, or environment, and some other condition in the Quy Nhon city. And in the step 2, we try to zone the city for the renaturing of the urban plan purpose. And in this step, we try to make the zoning based on the spatial master plan and some other services characteristics. In this step, we organize some workshop and to make some the interview and authority in the Quy Nhon city. And in the step 2, based on the 3 zones in the Quy Nhon city, we make the catalogs of the NBS that's suitable to the Quy Nhon city, and we try to select the NBS suitable with each zones in Quy Nhon city. And the last step is organization of the NBS implementation in RUP plan. In this step, we try to clarify the legal status and identify the responsibility, the mission statement, and consultation for to make the reality to the RUP in the future. And here is the RUP of the Quy Nhon city. In the RUP have the 7 chapters. As you see, the 3 first chapter is the preparation for the RUP establishment, and the chapter 4 we focus on the city zoning and NBS selection, and chapter 5, 6, 7 is some other information, other process to implement the RUP in the future. And here is some typical NBS replication in the Quy Nhon city. We already zones on the Quy Nhon city in 3 zones. The inner city and the downstream of the rivers and the Nhon Hội economic zone. And in each zone, we have some specific NBS. And here also some, and here is also some NBS location we already identify in each zones in Quy Nhon city. And after to have the RUP, we also think that the RUP is very important with the Quy Nhon city. That's because for reason. The first one is at the moment in my city there are too many of the plan. For example, the environmental protection plan, the climate change adaptation plan, the green system plan, and I think that the RUP will be combined all of them in the big plan to renature the Quy Nhon city. And the second one, the RUP, is the basis for my city to make appropriate management decision and investment some NBS solution in the future. And the RUP will help my city to improve the environmental quality and adaptation to climate change. And I think the last one is RUP have the Quy Nhon city open up the opportunity to attract the foreign support to improve the city environment. And the last one, I think that the RUP might be the first step, and the long story, long journey to transfer from the RUP to the reality. But I think if we have the good RUP, we have the good implementation in the future. Thank you very much from Quy Nhon City.
Thank you very much. And now we are at the last part of the webinar, where our participants will have the chance to ask questions to our panelists. This is the last part of the webinar, but if you are representing one of the cities in our cluster of cities, then we will ask you to kindly stay also longer, for half an hour longer after the end of the webinar, so that you can join the technical workshop that was mentioned by Magdalena in her first presentation. But first, questions. So I invite our speakers to turn on their camera if they can, so that then can take the questions. And to ask questions, there are 2 ways. Participants can either write the question in the question box that you should see in your GoToWebinar application, or you can raise your hand. If you raise your hands, we will give you the possibility to speak and to, we will activate your microphone. You will have the chance to ask the question yourself. So 2 ways: either you write in the box chat, or for the questions, or you raise your hand. And when you ask your question, especially if it's a written one, we kindly ask you to specify to which speaker or which city is that question for, so that we know who should answer that question. So thank you. And so if you have any questions, feel free to start. So I see there's one hand which is up from Eda. So Eda will now give you the chance to speak. Okay, Eda, so you should be able to activate your microphone and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
First of all, thank you very much for this beautiful presentation. Because my question is to Magdalena Rozanska about the tool for selecting the suitable NBS solution. Actually, it's quite. I was kind of going through the all stages of like making priority of which problem to select over another. I was thinking, could it be applicable for the heritage sites in the heritage context, because it is a quite problematic issue. And I'm also a researcher. I'm doing my PhD on this topic, so it will actually help me out a lot, this answer as well. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes, I suppose. Yes, Eda, that's why I said that somehow we're proposing the main structure with the main processes that should be implemented to gather that end planning group for your local conditions. And of course, it's possible to renature in that heritage environment still. However, it's a fact that's nature-based solution that you will select, that's legal environment, that social situation would be much different to another example that could be new construction, for example, or renaturing of another city zone that's not with that heritage aspects. So it be maybe much limited in sense of the number of nature-based solutions that you can choose, but those exist. We had example in our Urban GreenUP project on Valladolid case, where that environment partially was with that in that situation of heritage heritage aspects, as some elements have to be protected, facade elements, and another aspects like spaces, urban spaces that were very limited, for example. But those examples were presented and were implemented successfully there. So I very much invite you also to consult that case, and maybe there you will find some ideas on how to face and which nature-based solution in particular you can choose.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Julio, I don't know if I can add something about this. Yeah, can you hear me?
Sure, please.
Oh, yeah. Just to add that our project, as Magdalena mentioned, is focused on climate change specifically. So our nature-based solutions are specifically dedicated or are focused on to mitigate and to adapt the cities to climate change challenges. And specifically, I think that in our case, the heritage approach or the heritage context is not very deeply managed or involved in the project. there are many solutions. There are many other nature-based solutions that can be applied or implemented in cities or to solve heritage issues, maybe related to economy, also related to climate change, heritage and issues related to pollution or quality air. So I think that our project is more focused specifically in renaturing cities through nature-based solutions, but more focused in climate change, but also specifically the heritage aspect needs another or other nature-based solutions. But I explained perfectly. Maybe we could implement nature-based solutions related to land use, the change of land use in cities, to a landscape, to develop new landscapes in cities. And also there are specific nature-based solutions such as, I don't know now, but tree fields as a barrier to protect some heritage aspects in cities. So the idea is that we could work separately in the heritage as another challenge in cities. Thank you.
Sorry, Giulio, can I tell something? Because Mantova is an UNESCO heritage site, so we had many of these problems because all the city center is under UNESCO protection. So you can choose to choose some of NBS and not other NBS impact, visual impact NBS such as green wall or green facade or green roof, for example. Here in Italy, you cannot do this in UNESCO heritage. But there are also other solutions that you can find, and we invite you to consult NBS catalog because there are many of these solutions.
Thank you very much for all of you. Actually, you enlightened a lot in that aspect. Yeah, basically, I'm also working on the climate change issues, and as Elisa Parisi mentioned, I'm considering basically the green infrastructures, which are the green walls, green roofs, and urban street trees, to mitigate those effects. But yeah, maybe I should also ask you to help me out in my research. I would actually conduct which one of those would be more important to consider in a heritage site. Maybe I should ask legally if I can share a link for the presenters to participate in my survey in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. So we will now go to the next question. Unfortunately, we are running a bit late, so probably we have time only for a couple of more questions. I see there was a hand raised by Kevin Mutia. So I will now give Kevin the possibility to speak. Kevin, you should be able to ask your question now, if you still would like to ask it.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and for this platform. I'm working at the Urban Systems Unit at Eclipse Africa, that's based in Cape Town, South Africa. And this presentation has been very useful to try and understand the activities that actually govern nature-based solutions. Coming from the African context, a lot of nature-based solutions are usually not clear. And so my question, I think, is looking at the legislation. We've learned a lot about the activities and the actors and the steps and procedures, but I'm wondering, are there actually legislation or changes in legislation that need to happen to enforce nature-based solutions, either from the bylaws or different levels of governance? Thank you.
Yes, I don't know who, maybe I can just give you a very main base answer, and then maybe some cities have some local view. It's still in process, adaptation of our legislation for that new nature-based solution focus. There are standards that are still unexisting, unfortunately, but through each implementation we are doing, somehow we are creating a new standard that is integrated later on under current urban planning. Unfortunately, it still requires a lot of changes, and it's very much time consuming at city level, as it's affecting somehow that's general urban planning that is approved, and as you know, that's approvement is through quite time costful processes and a lot of stakeholders involved. But that is why it's very much important to integrate from very early beginning different stakeholders into the process and prepare. And this step I indicated, municipality integration under municipality local environment. From very early beginning, I suggest to discuss such matters with your local municipalities and trying to find what are that legal barriers at your local level for implementation of such solutions. And I don't know, even we have some particular examples from our panelists, but yeah, this is my answer to that. So ongoing, but still hard, very less standards existing on such matter.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And I think we are running out of time, unfortunately. In case our participants would like to ask more questions, they can contact us on the Urban GreenUP website, and then we can try to redirect the question to the speaker who can help out with that question. So I think we've come to an end. If you are a representative of the cities in our cluster of cities, please stay in this room so you can join the workshop. And anybody else can leave the room. The webinar has come to an end. I would like to thank again our speakers for their presentation. And one last thing, of course, this webinar has been recorded and will be made available on the Urban GreenUP channel, so YouTube and the website. So thanks again, everyone, and yeah, have a nice day. And for the cities from the cluster, we will take now like a couple of minutes break, and then we will start with the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you.